Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are doing freezer meal prep. Alright, if you're new here, hi, I'm Claire. Welcome. Come on in, make yourselves comfortable. If you like this type of content, cooking, meal prepping, budget content, convenience, foods, here we go. This channel's for you, so hit that subscribe button. Today I'm doing freezer meal prep. Now, I'm into meal prep. I like it. As a busy human, I like having meals already made for me. And I especially like a freezer meal prep because traditional meal prep, when you make like the meals for a week and you put them in the fridge. First of all, I hate eating the same thing every day. I also get weirded out by someone who will eat like a 5-day-old piece of chicken that's been in the fridge. With the freezer, it stays fresh, it's ready for you months down the road. So yeah. I've got 3 dinner recipes for you. These are going to be for family style dinners, but you could of course break them down to individual servings if you wanted to. And yeah, let's get right into it. All right, our first recipe, we are going to make a delicious pasta Alfredo sausage veggie bake. The pasta I've selected is Banza pasta, and I've chosen that because it's made of chickpeas. It's gonna boost the protein content just a little bit, but use what you got. I also have some sausage. This is from Seymour. I love this sausage. It's been in my freezer since Christmas time, so I really needed to use it. And I also have this huge zucchini that my neighbor gave me out of her garden. And the sauce of choice today is Bertolli Creamy Basil Alfredo. But all of these things can be customized to suit your personal taste. I've got a little bit of olive oil and also salt and pepper. Now, these boxes are smaller than the standard 1-pound box when you get the Banza, so this is only 8 ounces of pasta. And I'm throwing 4 sausages out here, and I'm just gonna cut them up. These are the, I believe it was like chicken Parmesan chicken sausages, so they were super delicious, but use hot dogs, use what's on sale, use bratwurst, you know, whatever you're into sausage-wise, go for it. I'm not going to use this whole zucchini because it's gigantic. If you're not a zucchini fan, throw a little broccoli in there, a little cauliflower. Just pick a vegetable of some sort that your family enjoys. This time of year, even if you don't have a garden, zucchini is in season, and you can usually get it for a really decent price, which you know I love. And yeah, I had to use this up. So I'm just dicing it up a little bit. And actually, because zucchini is full of water, I am going to just cook it a little bit to cook some of the water out. I would hate to pull this out of the freezer, throw it in the oven, and just have it be like a soggy, soupy mess. So if you're choosing squash of any type, it's good to sweat it out just a little bit to get some of that extra moisture out of there. And I'm also going to toast my sausages just a little bit, just because I like it to be a little crisp, but this is an optional step. Now it's time to assemble. I've got my little pans that I bought at the dollar store. This is going to feed a family of 4 at least, depending on, you know, how much you eat. And because we've got our nice fiber-rich chickpea pasta, our vegetables, our chicken, this is such a complete meal, and I really love that. I don't have to add any other sides or anything like that. Like, this is a hearty meal all on its own. But of course, customize it to your own taste. Use whatever kind of sauce you like, whatever kind of veg you like. I like this sort of template. It's not quite a recipe, it's just like a template. Pick your sauce, pick your veg, pick your pasta, pick your meat, mix it all together. It's so easy and definitely a crowd pleaser. And if I'm deciding to store something for more than a couple of weeks, I like to go ahead and put plastic wrap right on top so it's touching all the food. And this way it just kind of prevents freezer burn. Then we're just going to wrap that up, make sure we label it, and once this is frozen, you're going to cook this just like any other sort of frozen thing like this, 350 for about an hour. Moving on to recipe number 2, we are going to make our own frozen pizzas. I'm using a very basic pizza dough recipe. I'll leave a link to the one that I used down below. Sugar, flour, olive oil, salt, yeast. Really easy. And for our toppings, I've got salt, pepper, tomato paste. I got a can of plain old tomato sauce. I've got some dried basil. I also have this bag of mozzarella cheese. I have some pepperoni, and I have some sausage that I cooked the day before because it was about to go bad in my refrigerator. Now, the basic pizza dough recipe, use whatever dough you want. You know, you could even buy dough already made. However, I find this to be really easy. Couple cups of warm water, 1 pouch of yeast, tablespoon of sugar, I'll let that sit till it gets all foamy and activated. And we only have flour and salt here. And of course, all the measurements will be down below for your viewing pleasure. And now I'm throwing in 3 tablespoons of olive oil, mixing that all together. I am serious. If you're someone who thinks like, oh my gosh, who makes their own pizzas? That's so dramatic. It is so easy. If you've never made pizza dough, give it a try. It is one of the simplest breads to make. You can do it in a KitchenAid stand mixer if you don't want to knead it, but I was in the mood to feel the dough today. It only takes about 7 minutes of kneading till it's nice and smooth. And this makes 2 large pizzas, this recipe. So you could even just freeze this on, for another night, but I'm going to make pizzas today. So now I split it in half. I'm going to let it double in size, cover it about an hour, hour and a half. It was really warm today, so it happened rather quickly. And at first I thought, okay, I'm just going to make 2 big pizzas. But then I thought, how clever to make little personal pizzas. This is especially for my son Desmond, who loves a lunchtime pizza. You could definitely do this for dinner, but making this, I already knew that this was going to be for Desmond's lunches. He just loves a pizza. So I'm cutting them into quarters, and I'm just going to roll them out. They don't need to be perfectly round. This is not a pizza shop. This is my own kitchen. We can have rustic-looking little pizzas. So I'm just going to, roll them out till they're kind of round. And this did make like a pretty hefty serving of pizza. And then I am going to stab it with a fork. Don't forget this part. This will make sure that you don't get any big, giant, weird bubbles. Because if you get big bubbles, then your pizza won't be flat and it'll be weird. So stab it with a fork. And we are going to go ahead and bake this at 425 degrees. About 7 minutes, but keep an eye on it. Depends on how thick it is. We don't want it to be like dark brown, but we want it to be cooked just enough. And now I'm going to go ahead and prepare my toppings. Now, you can use a pizza sauce that's already made and labeled as pizza sauce that comes in a can. Very affordable. Use a marinara. Use your favorite pasta sauce. Do what's in your heart. I'm going to do what was already in my pantry, which was a can of just plain tomato sauce. I'm throwing a little tomato paste in there just because I really want that flavor to be nice and rich. And I just added a little bit of dried basil. And now I'm just making these pizzas like you would make any pizza. And I've found if you're not someone who makes pizzas very often, you always really need less sauce than you think in your brain. So I don't know. Do with that information what you will. And I'm going to make half of them pepperoni and half of them sausage. And I'm actually going to stack them on top of each other. I'm using parchment paper. I've also used foil and my little rubber mat thing. And I've stacked all 8 of these pizzas on top of each other. And I'm going to pop these into my freezer for them to just harden, just for a couple hours. It doesn't take that long. But when they come out, you'll see the cheese is all hard. Everything's all attached the way that you would buy just a frozen pizza from the store. And I'm packaging them up, pepperoni in one bag, sausage in the other, just with a paper towel in between them so they do not get stuck together. And seriously, this is the easiest thing. I know it looks real dramatic to just make your own mini pizzas, but they're so customizable, which is great for families, especially if you do the mini pizzas. You could make, everyone's favorite in the family. Everyone will get the pizza that they want. And these cook just like any other frozen pizza, 425 for about 10 minutes. Next, we're making Salisbury steak, and that might be weird. It is for me because in my brain, I always remember Salisbury steak as being those frozen dinners my mom would buy on busy nights, and they were never delicious. But I thought, you know what? I bet we could make a version of a frozen Salisbury steak dinner that is delicious. I'm using ground chuck. I got ketchup, breadcrumbs. I've got condensed French onion soup, salt and pepper, an egg, Worcestershire sauce, and some flour. And because we're making a complete dinner here, I'm also going to serve it with some mashed potatoes. I picked up these Honey Gold bite-sized potatoes. They were on sale, so that's why I chose them. But use whatever you have, russets, whatnot. I'm also going to use some milk and butter when I make those. So this is 1 pound of ground chuck. I got this in a meat bundle, and I was trying to figure out what I was going to do with it. And I decided this was the best way. It was still a little bit frozen, so excuse me while I throw this in the microwave and thaw it out just a little bit more. But once it's nice and thawed, we are going to put 1/4 cup of our condensed French onion soup. I thought this was such a good idea instead of canned gravy. We're using soup. We also have 1 egg. We have 1/3 cup of breadcrumbs. Use whatever breadcrumbs you got going. I had panko already in the cupboard, so that's what I used. I've got some pepper and I've got some salt. I'm just measuring that with my heart, so, do what you want there. Now I'm mixing it all up, and of course this is reminiscent of a meatball or a meatloaf, but with that French onion soup, it's going to be so delicious. And now this is going to make 4 large patties. You could definitely easily make this recipe a lot bigger if you were feeding more people. Just adjust the ingredients accordingly. And I'm just flattening these into little patties, and now I'm going to just pan fry them about 2 minutes on each side. We're just browning them. They don't need to cook all the way through. And while those are cooking, we're going to assemble the rest of the sauce. So we're going to put the rest of that can of soup together with a tablespoon of flour. We're going to stir that up. We definitely don't want any big floury lumps in there. We're also adding 1/4 cup of ketchup, which is barely what I had left, so we lucked out on this recipe. And a tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. I think Worcestershire makes everything more delicious. Mix that on up. Now I'm going to use 1/4 cup of water to deglaze my pan, just because I want that to be super delicious in there, and I don't want to lose any of that delicious flavor. I'm going to put my patties right back in. I'm going to bump my heat down to medium, and I'm going to add my sauce on top. Then we're going to cover this and let it cook for 20 minutes. And while that's cooking, I'm going to go ahead and make my potatoes. I always make my mashed potatoes in my pressure cooker because it's really fast. I just poured all the potatoes in there, about 1 cup of water, 4 minutes. That's all it takes. Very fast. And then when they're done, I drained the water out. I threw some butter in there. Well, I tried to, but I'll admit my butter was frozen, so I was having a hard time cutting it. So I just throw a little butter in there, a little salt, a little pepper, a little bit of milk. I do not measure when it comes to my mashed potatoes. And I'm a person that prefers them to be a little textured. I don't like them like whipped and creamy. I like to leave my skins on, plus that makes it a lot easier, especially with these tiny ones. There's no way I was going to try to peel all those little tiny potatoes. But this is the way we prefer it, so it's fine. And because I wanted to kind of separate them, I just used a little bit of foil in my little tin here. Put my potatoes on one side. Then I went ahead and put my steaks in the other side. You guys, this smelled so good, and that gravy was so delicious. I just can't believe how smart it was to use the French onion soup instead of like traditional gravy. Like, the most delicious. And of course, if you're a mushroom girl like me, or mushroom person, if you're a mushroom human, I'm a mushroom girl, you could throw mushrooms on there. However, my husband will not eat mushrooms because he's a loser. Not really, but I love mushrooms. You could put mushrooms on there too. So now I'm doing the same thing I did before with that plastic wrap, wrapping it up, labeling it, and again, just like a frozen lasagna or like the thing we did earlier, 350 for about an hour, and that'll do you. And look at how easy it was. We've got so many meals. This just took me a simple morning, and we're good to go. All right, you guys, those were all of my freezer meal prep recipes. I hope you enjoyed them. And remember, you can double or triple these recipes really easily if you really want to stock up your freezer, or if you want to make one maybe extra to give to a friend, maybe someone who's having a baby, someone who's had surgery, someone who is going through a grieving period. These are also really easy recipes to share if you're part of like a meal train or something. So keep that in mind the next time that is something you need to do. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you thought. And I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye.